guys, we're going to teach you how to grow some wheatgrass. Very easy to do. You can do it inside or outside. All you need is some moderate temperatures and some indirect light. We have our wheat seeds here. This is hard red winter wheat that I'm using. That's probably about the most common thing most people use. So this is soaked for 12 hours, then been germinated for about 24 hours, and it's ready to go. So our potting mix or our sprouting mix is a combination of about half and half organic compost and topsoil. And then we have a gardener's flat or tray here that we're going to cover with newspaper on the bottom so the dirt doesn't fall through. And it actually helps keep the moisture in also. Cover that with one layer as much as possible. You don't want to get it too thick. And then you're going to want about an inch deep for your soil. Spread that around. Probably a little much. You don't want to get out any clumps or little sticks that you see. Okay, now you're going to want to soak it really well. Sometimes the water will actually just run through and you'll still have dry soil without realizing it, and then you could wind up with problems later. So make sure you really give it a good soaking and feel around with your finger to make sure that the soil has absorbed the water. So we're just going to let that set and soak in before we put the seeds on top. So meanwhile, I'll show you what it looks like. So this one here has been uncovered, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but it's been uncovered for about 2 days. And this one here has probably been uncovered for maybe, I don't know, 5 or 6 days. It'll probably be ready to cut tomorrow or the next day. You want it about 6 to 7 inches long before you start harvesting. You can harvest it before, but you won't get as much of a harvest out of it if you do it while it's still short. So Mark and I, we drink about 2 ounces each per day, and a flat that's at least 6 inches long will give us at least 4 days worth, so about 16 ounces of wheatgrass. And if we don't let it grow that long, you know, we might only get 2 or 3, so good thing to wait an extra day or so. So while this is sitting too, I want to tell you about, you know, you need good air circulation. So the wheatgrass can be grown indoors and outdoors. If you're growing it indoors, there tends to be problems with mold. So for that, you need good air circulation. If we are growing it in the house, a lot of times we'll have a small fan somewhere near, so it's blowing to create air circulation in that area. Otherwise, outdoors, you want a good shady spot, and you don't usually need any additional circulation. So we're outdoors right now. It's working great. Our temperatures have only gotten up to 100 a couple of times, and when it gets that warm, it is a problem. I ended up bringing them inside for a couple days, but otherwise, you know, up to 90 degrees in the shade, you're probably okay. So if you do start to see mold, then you know you need to increase your air circulation or possibly you might be giving it too much water. The soil could be staying waterlogged. But outdoors, I haven't had any mold yet. In fact, I'm watering daily, keeping it very moist and still not having a problem. In fact, outdoors you really need to keep them nice and moist. Other than that, pretty easy to do for all the great benefits you get from it. You know, especially if you can't grow, you don't have access to garden space and grow your fresh greens. This is a wonderful thing to add to your life. So we're almost there. All the water's just about soaked in, you can tell. In fact, it's still sitting there pretty good, but that's okay. So we'll take our seeds, which I didn't mention. So this is a half-gallon container, and I soaked about 1 3/4 cup of seed. And it's going to make a pretty thick layer, but I like it that way. If you find that you do have a lot of problems with mold, you actually might want to try doing just a little less. Sometimes that'll help some. So you're going to want to try to spread this as evenly as possible, and you shouldn't have them too stacked on each other, which, like I said, mine, I like to make it a little thick, but you don't want it so thick that they're just going to rot and mold. So adjust it accordingly to your conditions. Just spread that out. And I like to pat it in a little. There's still a little wetness on top, which is perfect. Okay, so we're going to soak it in one more time, just lightly, with the hose. And last of all, this is going to be covered. We're going to cover it and let it sit usually about 2 days, depending on the temperatures. If it's warmer, well, if it's warmer, 2 days is still probably about the soonest it'll be done. If it's cooler, it might take 3 or so. It's going to get 1 inch to 2 tall. When you uncover it, it's going to be yellow, but it'll green up within the first day. Sometimes if you have it outside and the weathers are really warm, I'll actually pull the cover off every day, even while it's still under cover. You would think it would stay moist, but those seeds will dry out. So go ahead and give it a squirt. Other than that, if you have any questions or if you missed something or I forgot something, we'll have all the instructions in the book also. Okay, have fun.
Did you get all that, Max?